Hi everyone. This is the last part of this chapter, chapter number 6, Poets and Pancakes. In this chapter, we are going to discuss the question answers जो हमारी NCERT में given है. Starting off with the think as you read questions on page number 59. So we'll just discuss these questions one by one. The first question says, what does the writer mean by the fiery misery of those subjected to makeup? तो ये जो क्वेश्चन है कि हम सब क्वेश्चंस डेफिनेटली विद इन द चैप्टर ही हैं एंड वी हैव आल्सो डिस्कस दिस इन डिटेल इन वन ऑफ द प्रीवियस पार्ट्स ऑफ माय वीडियो. इसका आंसर हम लिखेंगे. सो फ्योरी मिजरी कब बात हुई थी? जब ऑथर ने हमें मेकअप रूम के बारे में बताना शुरू किया था. कुछ शॉर्ट पॉइंट्स आई विल जस्ट नोट डाउन इन द रजिस्टर एज वेल. मेकअप रूम का जब रेफरेंस हुआ था तो ये वाले फ्रेज का इस्तेमाल किया गया था कि जितने भी आर्टिस्ट हैं हु वर सब्जेक्टेड टू मेकअप उनके लिए वो पूरा टास्क एक फियरी मिजरी की तरह है. दैट वाज बिकॉज एक और चीज, छोटी सी चीज मेंशन थी, दैट इन द मेकअप रूम देयर वर अ लॉट ऑफ मिरर्स एंड देयर वर अ लॉट ऑफ लाइट्स जो थी वो इनकैंडेसेंट लाइट्स थी. एंड आई ऑल्सो एक्सप्लेन्ड यू देन कि वो लाइट्स बहुत ज़्यादा हीट एमिट करती हैं, बिकॉज ऑफ विच वो पूरा मेकअप रूम डेफिनेटली ज़्यादा हीटअप हो जाता होगा एंड दैट इज़ वाई इट यूज टू कॉज ट्रबल टू द मेकअप जो टू द आर्टिस्ट. सो वी कैन से कि जो हीट प्रोड्यूस होती है लाइट से इन द मेकअप रूम, दैट ब्रॉट अ लॉट ऑफ डिस्कम्फर्ट to the actors in the makeup room, and hence the writer refers to their trouble or the problem that they faced as fury misery. So in short आपको makeup room के reference को देना है and you can say the heat produced by lights in the makeup room. ठीक है, which cause discomfort to the makeup or to the actors. So second question is, what is the example of national integration that the author refers to? Again in this question is being was referred to while describing the makeup department. Makeup department जो है हमारा Gemini Studios का, उसमें ये example था कि उनकी जो team है that was full of पीपल फ्रॉम वेरियस कल्चर्स और बहुत डाइवर्सिटी थी उस टीम में. मेकअप टीम, ठीक है. तो द मेकअप डिवीजन यू कैन से, और द मेकअप डिवीजन, जो मेकअप डिवीजन था जेमिनी स्टूडियो का, दैट वाज द एग्जांपल ऑफ नेशनल इंटीग्रेशन दैट द ऑथर रेफर्स टू. एंड रीजन क्या था इसका? बिकॉज देयर वर पीपल फ्रॉम डिफरेंट रीजन्स एंड रिलीजन्स वर्किंग टुगेदर इन द सेम डिपार्टमेंट. दैट इज वाई बहुत ही ज़्यादा नेशनल इंटीग्रेशन हो रही थी. और आप साथ में एग्जाम्पल देने के लिए यू कैन मेंशन, गिव एग्जाम्पल्स ऑल्सो कि क्या क्या एग्जाम्पल्स हमें बुक में भी दिए हुए थे. कि इट वॉज हेडेड बाय अ बंगाली हु वॉज सक्सीडेड बाय अ महाराष्ट्रियन एंड असिस्टेड बाय हु, धरवर कन्नडिग एंड आंध्र, Madras Indian Christian, and Anglo-Burmese and the local Tamils. So इतने सारे different groups थे, religious, regional groups also. That is why एक national integration का example दिया था author ने. Okay. So next question हमारा क्या कहता है? What work did the office boy do in the Gemini Studios? सो ऑफिस बॉय कहाँ पे था? हमने पढ़ा था कि मेकअप डिपार्टमेंट में भी ऑफिस बॉय है. नेक्स्ट पार्ट है, व्हाई डिड ही जॉइन द स्टूडियोज एंड व्हाई वाज ही डिसअपॉइंटेड. सो 3 क्वेश्चंस इन 1. सो स्टार्टिंग ऑफ की ऑफिस बॉय वाज अ पार्ट ऑफ द मेकअप टीम and he used to apply makeup to Office boy, this is page 59, I'll just mention. Office boy part of the makeup team या फिर makeup department. And उसका काम क्या था? He used to put makeup, applied makeup on actors or players who played the role of crowd. ठीक है. Then on the days of crowd shooting, we can say he would mix his paint in a big vessel and apply it quickly or slap it on the faces of the players or the actors. He had joined the studios. Then the second part, क्यों join किया था studio? Joined to with a hope. With a hope of becoming a star actor. Becoming a star actor or a screenwriter. ये सब कुछ हमने डिस्कस किया था, बुक में itself mentioned है. And a director or a lyrics writer. ठीक है. He was disappointed because why? He was disappointed because he failed and he remained only an office boy. इसीलिए disappointed था. And that is why he mentioned that line कि कंपनी में या स्टूडियो में बहुत ही सारे talented लोग टैलेंट बहुत ज़्यादा वेस्ट जा रहा है. ओके, नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन क्या है? नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन है Why did the author appear to be doing nothing at the studio? ऐसा क्यों लगता था कि वो कुछ नहीं कर रहे? So author की ड्यूटी क्या थी? Author's duty was to cut out newspaper clippings and on a wide variety of subjects and store them in files. This was the duty of the author, and many of these had to be written out in hand also. So the other people or the onlookers, you can say, they noticed him merely tearing up newspapers while he was sitting in his cubicle, and hence he seemed to them as doing nothing, next to nothing. ठीक है, तो ये सारी चीजें हो गई. साथ ही next question, we can move on to the next question, which is given on page number 61. So first is, why was the office boy frustrated? Who did he show his anger on? ठीक है, दो questions हैं इसमें भी. So we all know the office boy was frustrated because despite getting a good opening, he remained only an office boy. यही उसकी disappointment थी जो हमने कुछ एक पिछले क्वेश्चन में भी डिस्कस करा कि वो disappointed क्यों रहता था. Frustration का reason भी यही था. And he had a good formal education and used to write poetry also. Still he remained as an office boy only. But his great literary talent was being wasted there, and he showed his anger on Kothamangalam Subbu, the number 2 at Gemini studio. So वो सबसे ज़्यादा तो उसी से गुस्सा रहता था कि उसके पास इतनी opportunities हैं या वो इतना favorite है बॉस का and वो नहीं है. So all these things you can write down in this question. Why was the office boy frustrated? We know he was frustrated because he didn't get, despite that literary talent also, he remained as an office boy only. and he showed his anger on Kotamangalam Subbu by discussing the same with the author or Asokamitran. ठीक है, ये हो गया. Second question, who was Subbu's principal? This is an easy one. Subbu's principal कौन था? We all know Mr. S.S. Vasan, who was also the founder of Gemini Studio. ठीक है. And next question क्या है? Subbu is described as a many-sided genius. List 4 of his special abilities. So Subbu के बारे में तो हमारे पास बहुत सारी information है. That whole page I told you is full of details about Subbu. To be precise, it's page number 60 जिसपे सारा सुबू के बारे में दिया है. बट हमें कुछ 4 उसके बारे में सिर्फ 4 ही मेन चीज़ें डिस्क्राइब करनी है. स्पेशल एबिलिटीज क्या क्या थी उसकी. सबसे पहले हम लिख सकते हैं he used to look cheerful at all the times. ये पूरा सेंटेंसेस की फॉर्म में आप लिख सकते हैं that he used to look cheerful at all times. Second, you can say that his sense of loyalty made him, his sense of loyalty gave him an advantage to be principal's favorite, या फिर S.S. Vasan's favorite, या number 2. And filmmaking was quite easy when Subbu was around. Filmmaking was easy with him. साथ ही आप लॉयल्टी के बारे में उसकी लिख सकते हैं. एंड दैट यू कैन ऑल्सो मेंशन अलॉन्ग विद दिस कि उसके पास हमेशा ही सजेशंस होते थे या सॉल्यूशंस होते थे विच मेड हिम नंबर 2. ठीक है. थर्ड, यू कैन राइट डाउन दैट ही वॉज लिटरेरी इंक्लाइंड टू. ही वॉज अ पोएट, novelist and an amazing actor. ठीक है. Then you can mention lastly he had a very charitable and loving nature. ठीक है, ये सारे पॉइंट्स आप मेंशन कर सकते हैं. नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन गोज लाइक, व्हाई वाज द लीगल एडवाइजर रेफर्ड टू एज द ऑपोजिट बाय द अदर्स. सो द लॉयर वाज इन द स्टोरी डिपार्टमेंट, ये तो हमें पता ही है. बट वो लिखा था कि वो था तो लीगल एडवाइजर, बट सब लोग के लिए वो एकदम ऑपोजिट था. So you can mention about that incident also here. You can say that he was officially a legal advisor, but he did nothing related to his field. His work was not related to his field, and he unwittingly brought an end to the career of a promising or a very brilliant young actress. That is why he was referred to as opposite by the others. Next question, 5th. What made the lawyer stand out from the others at Gemini Studio? कुछ एक खास बात बताई गई थी लॉयर के बारे में जो उसको which used to make him stand out, which was his dress that he used to wear. So lawyer's dress made him stand out. While everyone in Gemini Studio used to wear khadi dhoti and khadi shirt, he was the only one out of the crowd to wear what? A coat or a pant and a shirt. Pant and tie. So ये सारी चीजें थी which made him stand out. Okay, there's no sixth here. Then we move on to the next set of questions, that is on page number 64. This is question number 1. Did the people at Gemini Studio have any particular political affiliations? So clearly we know कि उनका ऐसा कुछ भी नहीं था, because they were not interested in the political thoughts. We can say most of the people were followers of Gandhi and Khadi and wore Khadi, but beyond Khadi, beyond Gandhi and wearing of Khadi, they had no particular political affiliations, and they were all against communism. ये सारी चीजें आप इसमें लिख सकते हैं. Second question क्या कहता है? Second question goes like, why was the moral rearmament army welcomed at the studio? Why was it welcomed? They were they were propaganding a kind of anti-communism movement, because of which the big bosses of Madras like Mr. Vasan simply played into their hands. So the moral rearmament army was welcomed at Gemini Studios. Next question. Name one example to show that Gemini Studio was influenced by the plays staged by the MRA. So एक वो एग्जाम्पल था जो उनकी जोथम वैली का सनराइज का सीन था, जो कि बाकी प्लेज ने कॉपी करने की कोशिश करी. The play staged by MRA greatly influenced Madras and Tamil drama community. For some years, almost all Tamil players had a scene of sunrise and sunset in the manner of Jotham Valley, with a bare stage, a white background curtain and a flute playing in the background. ये exactly मैंने text कहाँ से copy किया है? Book से, आपकी NCERT से. Who was the boss of Gemini Studio? Next question. Very easy. S.S. Vasan was the boss of Gemini Studio. He was also the founder. Next question. What caused the lack of communication between Englishmen and the people at Gemini Studio? So most of the 600 odd people at Gemini Studio were what? Tamil speakers, and the Englishman was addressing in his own language English and had a peculiar accent also, because of which they were unable to understand, or there was a lack of communication between the Englishmen and the people who were listening to him as an audience. Next question है, why is the Englishman visit referred to as unexplained mystery? So the Englishman's visit, जो Englishman का नाम क्या था? Stephen Spender. His visit to Gemini Studio is referred to as an unexplained mystery because no one could decipher his identity. एक तो उनकी identity नहीं समझ आई थी, poet हैं, editor हैं, कौन है? And besides, when he spoke, no one was able to understand what he was saying, and also because his accent was beyond their comprehension. Also, they were confused about the fact that what was an Englishman doing in a film studio which produced Tamil films for common people. ये सारी चीजें आप लिख सकते हैं कि उनकी इतनी सारी confusions हो रही थी. Moving on to the next set of questions, which is on page 65 here. Who was the English visitor to the studios? Now we know the answer. The English visitor was who? Stephen Spender. He was the editor of The Encounter, a British periodical, and a famous poet, an essayist and a novelist of the 20th century. तो page 65 पे है. कौन था English visitor? English visitor was who? Stephen Spender. उसकी आइडेंटिटी रिवील हो गई थी, एडिटर ऑफ द एनकाउंटर, जिसका वो कॉन्टेस्ट उसने ऑथर ने देखा था. and he was an essayist, he was a poet, and he was also a novelist of the 20th century. Next question, how did the author discover who the English visitor to the studio was? So, we can say that the poet got to know about or read about a contest, a story writing contest in the Encounter, which was a periodical in the Hindu, and before investing money in participating in that contest, he did some research to get to know who the editor of that periodical was. So he went to the British Library, where while going through the issue of that periodical, he discovered that the editor was Stephen Spender, the same person or the same poet who had visited Gemini's studio. So you can mention about the contest in the Encounter and how he discovered the name of the editor ब्रिटिश काउंसिल लाइब्रेरी में जाकर. Okay, then the last question of this set is, what was the god that failed referred to? Okay, this also has been given clearly. The god that failed was a compilation or was a collection of 6 essays written by 6 eminent writers, and you can write down the names, namely Anne Guide, Richard Wright, Ignazio Silone, Arthur Koestler, and Louis Fisher and Stephen Spender. In each of the essays, the respective writers describe their journeys into communism and their disillusioned return. ये हमने as it is copy करा है हमारी book का text. So, okay, now moving on to the understanding the text questions. Understanding the text questions में first question है, the author has used gentle humor to point out human foibles. Pick out instances of his short pick out instances of this to show how this serves to make the piece interesting. Okay, the instances of gentle humor. Humor के तो बहुत सारे instances थे, हम कुछ बता सकते हैं. They were like the author portrays the makeup artist and the usage of pancakes in an interesting way. एक तो ये बता सकते हैं makeup artist and pancakes का usage. Understanding the text, this is page 66. ठीक है, and usage of pancakes. Next, you can write down that how when he mentions about Cebu, he does that in a very funny way, in a very hilarious way. And the amusing episode of the legal advisor and that actress, वो भी काफी funny था. Then you can write down about the frustration of office boy, कि कैसे वो होप करता है काश फिर से क्राउड आ जाए जिसको वो, ताकि वो ऑफिस बॉय बिजी हो जाए. एंड द मिस्ट्री कि कौन था विजिटर, अबाउट द विजिटर. So you can briefly mention about these instances in this answer. Next is, why was Kotmangalam Subu considered number 2 in Gemini Studios? Okay, so Subu was considered in securing the second closest place to the boss by means of flattery, we can say, or because of his nature, we can say. He was not brilliant but rather a cheerful person and exceedingly loyal to the boss. and he always had solutions and suggestions whenever the boss or SS person was in a fix. And the other employees considered him number 2 in Gemini studio. ठीक है. Next question. How does the author describe the incongruity of an English poet addressing the audience at Gemini studio? तो incongruity कैसे हुई थी? Since the English poet was addressing the audience, the Tamil audience at Gemini studio with a typical British accent. Hence, the audience was unable to comprehend or understand what the poet or what that person was trying to say. And he was talking about the thrills and travails of an English poet to a dazed and silent audience. ये भी text मैंने book से copy करा है. This was all incongruity because his audience could not understand him at all. किसी को समझ नहीं आया था. That is why the audience was very baffled also. ये सारी चीजें हमने exactly text book से copy करा, text से copy करा है. So you can also pick up the answer for this question from the book. Last question goes like, what do you understand about the author's literary inclinations from the account? So, literary inclinations author की क्या थी? We can say that even though the author had a very tedious and a challenging job, लेकिन still his interest in literature and writing is apparent in his willingness to participate in the short story writing contest that he saw in the British periodical The Encounter. So moreover, the author seems to be a keen reader because he keeps visiting libraries, he keeps reading about stuff, and he was the most well informed in the Gemini studio. Besides, the narrative establishes the fact that author was one of the most knowledgeable persons that we have already discussed, and his idea about how prose writing was not only for the genius but for those with patience and perseverance was all these things together, they highlight his reflective and deep thoughts on literature and creative writing, क्योंकि उसने हमें एक न्यू आइडियोलॉजी दी थी कि कैसे सिर्फ जीनियसेस के लिए नहीं है प्रोज राइटिंग बट फॉर दोज who have patience and who have that shrunken heart. So with this we come to an end to the chapter and the question answers. I hope you all have understood the questions. Mostly answers हमारे text book में से ही हैं. So you can just go through the chapter. Remember those 7 important highlights of the chapter and उनके बारे में चीजें आपको पता होनी चाहिए. Okay friends, thank you for watching.